Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going to be talking about what we need from our respective VR game companies. It doesn't matter if you're on Quest, Sony, PC VR, Pico, it doesn't matter. All of these companies need to bring us something to move us into the future. Now that could be more games, for some people it's more hardware, and today we're going to break all of that down. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by my sponsor Kiwi Design. They currently make my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap, which comes in multiple different versions. You can add an extra battery pack, high quality headphones, or even both. They also have other products like Valve Index style hand straps, and they just introduced a brand new RGB stand. Your controllers and headset magnetically connect. There's a charging indicator so you'll know when your headset's ready to go. And there's plenty of different RGB color options available. There's a link to Kiwi Design down in the description. And don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so let's start things off with smaller companies and work our way up to the bigger names in the VR industry. And the first one that comes to mind is HTC. Now, honestly, it's hard for me to believe that HTC is going to be in the VR market for much longer because they've been kind of on a downward spiral since the release of the Vive Cosmos in 2019. Now, maybe it's not a downward spiral, but it's a series of disappointments. And unfortunately, HTC is a hardware company, so they don't have the luxury of other companies like Pico and Meta to subsidize their hardware, so it's always going to be more expensive. Additionally, they're not a software company, so they can't develop for themselves, and they don't have the money to throw around to get other developers to support their platforms or to develop games exclusively for them. So they made a little foray into standalone, but that's not going fantastically well. They tried to make a device that's, just for consuming content, which is using older technology, and again, their pricing is just not great. So, like I said, I don't see them in the VR industry for much longer. So their main objective is to just survive. And if they want to continue on, they're going to need to pivot. Now, what exactly that entails, I don't really know. How can they pivot? Well, maybe they can develop a piece of hardware that works for all VR platforms, the Quest, PC VR, something we didn't know we wanted. But again, what is that? Maybe they can figure it out. They are a hardware company, but for now, their main objective is to survive, re-strategize, and figure out how they're going to move forward. Now, Pimax is in a similar situation to HTC, but rather than giving us disappointing hardware, they're kind of just dropping the ball when it comes to QA. Their quality assurance has been really rough over the years, and they're always trying to do way too much. So the harm to the company is self-inflicted. What do they need to do going forward? Well, they're never going to grow into this company that can combat Meta or even Pico, because Pico is backed by ByteDance. They do, however, have an enthusiast niche that they can continue to fill indefinitely. The only problem is they have to do it right, they have to scale back, and they have to make sure that they deliver a better first impression. Now, if you saw my coverage of the Pimax Crystal, you would understand why I'm saying this. They sent me 2 defective units, and they know I'm going to be covering the product. So if they can't send me, a content creator, 2 working headsets, what's going to happen to the general public? And what do they expect to happen when I talk about these flaws? Also, the software wasn't ready. There was, a lot of different hardware issues. Hardware wasn't actually operating yet, like the eye tracking wasn't on. So they really should stop and think about what they're doing a lot more. And again, they have these side projects that are just absurd. They're beyond too good to be true. Like they're trying to make a Kinect, Nintendo Switch, Portal, and VR headset all in one device. Meanwhile, they have no one to develop for those Kinect-like features. It's really almost gimmicky to slap an Android phone style handheld into a rubber container as a VR headset. It's across the board, just like something a child thought up. Like, it would be cool, a handheld device that turned into a VR headset that's also a Kinect, and I can play all my games, and it does everything. And they're like, we can do that. No, you can't. So Pimax, scale back. You do some cool stuff with FOV and new technology. Focus, rein it in, and just deliver us some nice high-end products, and you'll do all right. Now, the next big player is Valve, and they just need to do anything. Let us know that they are officially still working on VR. I did a whole video on this topic, and I'll link it if you guys want to check that out. It goes into detail. But to kind of summarize it, they need to either give us, new hardware. We're ready for that. Give us the Deckard. Got to progress VR forward. The Valve Index sales are finally dropping off. Give us a new game. Show us you're committed to VR. Work more closely with VR developers for optimization and performance on your platform. Those are the things you need to move forward to get PC VR happening again. On top of that, it would be really nice if you guys played nice with Sony. I say you guys, but I mean Valve. You play nice with Sony and share exclusives, first-party exclusives. That'd be great. PlayStation VR 2 owners definitely should play Half-Life Alyx. And there are games like Resident Evil 8, Gran Turismo that, PC VR players should get into. We would enjoy them for sure. Now, we know Valve continues to tinker. They are working on stuff. You could see it in their updates. You see patents coming out. And they do have some future plan for VR, but just at least throw us a bone. They don't need VR to survive. They're going to be fine. But if they're going to expand VR and stay a major player, they got to do something. Now, probably one of the biggest companies that needs to start making some moves if they want to remain a big player in the VR industry is Sony. Sony kind of let us down with the PlayStation VR 2. I know some people have issues with the hardware. Personally, I like it. I would have made different choices, but that would have been perfect hardware for me, and different issues bother different people. So it's not the perfect headset for me, but I think it's a good headset overall. Regardless, they need to start bringing the games and showing us they're committed to VR. It's great that we have titles like Resident Evil 8 and Gran Turismo in VR, but these are ports. The only real exclusive game is Horizon Call of the Mountain, and while I thought it was great, it's not a system seller. You gotta bring those first-party, high-end titles to VR. You don't need 100 of them, but you need like 3 a year, and then, filler games in between. We definitely need this. So they have to show something like that this holiday season. They have to show that, listen, this is the time to pick up the PlayStation VR 2 because banger titles are here and coming in the future. Additionally, they need to catch up to other VR platforms. Sony is lacking when it comes to media consumption on your PlayStation VR 2. You can't play 3D Blu-rays. There's other functionality missing. Plus, there's huge social apps like VR Chat, Rec Room, and even potentially Roblox, looking down the path further. They're not on the PlayStation VR 2, and these are major titles that we really need. Plus, there's no, those apps for creating art and stuff like that. They're also missing from the PlayStation VR 2. These are ways that people spend a massive amount of time. Sony has to do whatever it takes to get those titles and that stuff working on their headset as soon as possible. Now, before we move to the number one player, which is Meta, we have Pico from ByteDance. Now, ByteDance is finally a company with money to match Meta, and we thought they would be real competition, but they still have yet to move into the US market, and they have not put any serious money behind exclusives, or at least nothing to show of just yet. Now, we've heard in the past they are putting serious money into games, but I think the Pico undersold compared to what they were expecting, and now they're kind of questioning their decisions of how much they really want to spend on the future of VR. All of that information isn't really publicly available right now. We don't know exactly what's going on internally, but when the Pico 4 first popped off, we thought we finally had competition, and as much as I love the headset, I think it's a great headset. I think they made great hardware to compete with the Quest 2. Pico's given us no reason to jump ship from Meta. At most, we have the same games. And then at least we have less games or games that just don't run quite as well. So they really just got to up their game production. And then eventually they have to play catch up with the Quest 3. And finally, we have the number one player in the VR industry, and that is Meta. Now, love it or hate it, they are controlling the whole VR industry right now. Well, basically, they're the only one putting a ton of cash in, and the majority of VR gamers are on a Quest headset. I know a lot of people want to believe that, they only pick up a Quest to use it for PC VR, but only a small percentage of Quest owners use it for PC VR. It's under 10%, probably closer to 5. So it's Quest standalone. That's the industry right now. The VR industry is Quest standalone. So they're winning. So how can I say what they need to do? Well, if they want VR to continue growing, there's 2 things they need to do. One is they need to prove AR is a worthwhile technology. They're forcing it on us in their next headset. And I don't want it to become the next Kinect hardware that's forced on us that no one wants and ends up not using, but we have to pay a premium for. So prove AR is a worthwhile product. That's number 1 for them. And number 2 is, as we move to the Quest 3 era, prove that this is no longer the mobile VR era. Now, obviously, it's still a mobile headset. It's still a low-powered XR2 chipset, and I say low-powered compared to a tethered processing machine like a PC or a PlayStation 5. But prove to us that you can get some high-quality titles on a mobile platform. We're getting very close with the Quest 2. You know, we've seen a few titles that are extremely impressive, and now you're doubling the power. So seriously, work with your developers, make sure the games are up to snuff, and really bring it to us over the course of the next 3 years. That's what they need to do. And then this, you know, obviously VR will blow up even more. Now, there are a few other players dipping their toes in the VR industry, and we could go over them really fast. Apple obviously brought the tech. What they're doing is really impressive, but now they need to bring it to a consumer-friendly price tag, and that'll just happen over time. They'll be able to develop the hardware for a lower and lower price, and they'll get there. So they're on their own journey. They're just on the top-down journey rather than Quest going from bottom up. Microsoft is Microsoft. What they like to do a lot of times is just wait till an industry is established, when they, you know, don't have to do as much research and development or market strategizing. They want to jump in when there's already an established market. So, and they're 50-50 when they do that. Like the Zune, they came in too late. Microsoft phones, same thing, but other products, they've been successful, like Xbox. So they'll be 50-50. If the VR market eventually blows up, then they'll jump in. That's it. There are some new players like BigScreen with the BigScreen Beyond, and Immersed is giving us the Visor, which is a productivity headset, and BigScreen is an enthusiast level headset. Yeah, they just, you know, need to deliver on these products. Make sure they can do what they claim. You know, your new players, you're going to be in the enthusiast category. You're not going to take over the industry. Just pull off what you're claiming, and you'll be successful. End of story. And to quickly recap and summarize everything, you know, PSVR 2 needs to bring the games this holiday season and show us they're committed to VR. Apple will lower your prices. Meta, prove AR is worthy, and it's not just the next Kinect. Valve, do anything. HTC and Pimax survive. Pimax, kind of rein yourself in a little bit. And that's it in a nutshell, guys. I'm really curious how you guys feel. Like, I think if you're in the VR sphere industry, you're a gamer, you probably knew most of these things already, and I'm assuming you agree. This should be pretty obvious, but for some people, I'm sure this is a wake-up call. Some of the things I talk about will surprise them. So let me know what you think down in the comments. I know my videos have been different than normal lately. VR is changing, and I'm changing along with it, but I'm actually more myself in these videos. These are really fun for me to do. So again, continue to give me your feedback. But if you're looking for more of the, you know, traditional stuff, next week I do have some game coverage. I do have a cool list coming up for you guys, something I think you'll enjoy. So it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be me rambling at the end here, and I'll cut and fill something else in. I hate the cut. I got rambly there. I am hyped up on caffeine today. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the new change in the channel. And again, thank you guys for being here. If it's your first time, consider subscribing. If you like the video, throw a thumbs up. I love these discussions, but I'm going to slow down with the discussions a little bit because they've been the major focus of my content right now. And that's it, guys. I will see you on next time.